I'm going to start this review by saying I get a lot of messages from people who have been staring at a pool control panel and wondering whether it's worth pulling the plug and ordering a new system. Most of the hesitation comes from three places: the fear of spending money on something that won't actually simplify life, the worry that the tech will be a headache to set up, and the concern that you'll end up with a one-size-fits-all controller that only works for a tiny slice of what you need. If you're on the fence about moving your pool and spa to a centralized, salt-based automation system, this video is for you. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. The Pentair EasyTouch 8-function control is marketed as a complete automation hub for a residential pool and spa, combining a salt-chlorine generator, 2-valve actuators, and a control board that talks to your pump, lights, and even landscape lighting. At first glance, that sounds convenient: one box, one interface, and you're done. What really matters, though, is how that translates into day-to-day use for someone who isn't a professional installer. Let's talk about the basic setup. The system expects a standard 115-volt power source, a decent water flow rate, and a salt cell that you'll need to backfill with the appropriate amount of salt. Installation isn't a weekend DIY for most homeowners. You'll have to connect the 2-valve actuators to your existing circulation valves, route a few low-voltage communication wires, and mount the controller somewhere dry and reachable. If you already have a basic pool controller and are comfortable with a few electrician visits, the wiring is manageable. If you're planning to bolt this onto an older, retrofit pool with a mix of metal and PVC plumbing, you may hit the hidden trade-off of needing extra fittings or a professional to realign your valves. Once it's wired, the real value shows up in the daily routine. The EasyTouch lets you schedule turns for your pump, lights, and spa jets, and you can adjust chlorine output from the same touch screen. For a family that swims most evenings, the ability to have the pool lights come on automatically at dusk, and the pump run at a lower speed for circulation before a scheduled high-speed cleaning cycle, feels like a genuine time saver. The salt chlorine generator, using the IntelliChlor IC40 cell, maintains a steadier chlorine level than a traditional gas chlorine feeder, which means you're less likely to see that green water panic after a hot weekend. In practice, I've seen homeowners report fewer chlorine spikes and less frequent need to manually add shock. Where the system truly shines is in its self-diagnostics. The controller monitors the health of the salt cell, the pump motor, and even the valve actuators. If a valve fails to open, the screen flashes an error and tells you which actuator is at fault. That avoids a blind nothing's working scenario where you might otherwise have to call a technician and stare at a cryptic blinking light. In my experience, having that built-in troubleshooting log cuts down on service calls by about a third, which translates directly into saved dollars. However, there are a few practical weaknesses that matter if you're trying to keep your budget tight. First, the system only supports 2-valve actuators out of the box. If your pool has more than 2 separate circuits, say a dedicated heater valve, a separate waterfall valve, and a spa bypass, you'll need to purchase extra actuators or compromise on control granularity. Those extra parts aren't cheap, and the installation effort goes up linearly. Second, while the interface is intuitive for someone who's comfortable with digital thermostats, it does lack a robust mobile app integration. The EasyTouch allows you to control settings via a web browser, but you can't push a push notification to your phone if the chlorine level drifts out of range. That's a missed opportunity for homeowners who expect the same level of smartphone interactivity they get from smart thermostats or lighting systems. Another hidden trade-off is the reliance on a stable water flow rate for the salt cell to work efficiently. If your pump is set to a very low speed, or if you have a variable flow pump that throttles too much, the salt cell can underperform, leading to lower chlorine residuals. In homes where energy savings are prioritized with ultra-low pump speeds, you may have to strike a balance between energy efficiency and sanitation effectiveness. That's a compromise you need to be aware of before you commit. Who should buy this system? If you have a single-family home with a traditional in-ground pool and a spa, and you'd like a single point of control for pump speed, lighting schedules, and chlorine generation, the EasyTouch fits nicely. It's especially good for families who swim regularly and want the pool water to stay balanced without the ritual of checking chlorine kits each week. The integrated diagnostics are also a boon for DI-oriented owners who enjoy troubleshooting rather than paying a service call every time something seems off. Finally, if you're already planning a pump upgrade to a variable speed model, the